Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Truth Noir. We're doing a little bit different thing today. We're sitting on the ground because I have a special guest on today who's going to play some wonderful music for you, and we're going to talk about chakras and meditation because obviously there's not nearly enough of it in the world. So to talk about that with us a little bit is a fantastic composer and SAROD player. He's going to tell you what that is. So I want to say thank you to Stephen Day for joining us today. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Norman. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so what is this that we're looking at here?
SAROD, it's a 19-stringed instrument, somewhat similar to the sitar, but different as in you slide the notes. So that's the beauty of it. It's called slides and glides, where we move our finger along the fretboards, fretless,
Very
to
cool.
reach that place. And then these little strings here are tuned to the piece of music that I play, and the different pieces, different ragas they're called, are tuned differently.
Okay. All right, and so you were, we had two pieces that we were going to play for us today?
Yeah, time permitting. One is a cover, I call it a SAROD song. SAROD songs are songs that you might recognize. They're cover songs, but played on the SAROD. So,
Okay.
like to bring a little bit of our culture and bring the East and West together in that way. And the other one is a pure raga of classical Indian music, centuries old, thousands of years old. So we'll do that one at the end.
All righty, perfect.
So this piece is called Cats in the Cradle. It's written by Harry Chapin Carpenter. Child arrived just the other day. He came into the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch, bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away, and he was talking before he knew it. And as he grew, he said, "I'm gonna be like you, Dad, you know I'm gonna be like you." The cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when. We'll get together then, son. You know we'll have a good time then. My son turned 10 just the other day. He threw me the ball, said, "Come on, let's play. Can you teach me to throw?" I said, "Not today, I got a lot to do." He said, "That's okay." And as he walked away, his smile never dimmed. He said, "I'm gonna be like him, yeah, you know I'm gonna be like him." The cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when. We'll get together then, son. You know we'll have a good time then. Came from college just the other day, so much like a man I just had to say, "Son, I'm proud of you, can you sit for a while?" He shook his head and he said with a smile, "What I'd really like, Dad, is to borrow the car keys. See you later, can I have them, please?" The cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when. We'll get together then, Dad, you know we'll get a good time then. long since retired, my son's moved away, and I called him up just the other day. I'd like to see you, son, if you don't mind. He said, I'd love to, Dad, if I could just find the time. See, this new job's a hassle, and the kid's got the flu. Been sure nice talking to you, Dad, you know it's sure nice talking to you. And as I hang up the phone, it occurred to me, my boy was just like me. My boy was just like me. The cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when we'll get together then. Dad, you know we'll have a good time then.
Thank you so much for that. My dad's going to love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes you back a few years, but it's kind of timeless and eternal, and that's the idea of playing it. So,
yeah, how long have you been doing this for, and how is it that you as a Westerner got into playing this kind of music?
Well, as they say, I didn't find this instrument found me. You know, the SAROD called me. India called me. I was just a young lad of 18, and I had an incredible experience hitchhiking around Italy one summer. I had a feeling in my heart that I could never shake. I just thought to myself, this feeling of joy and incredible, intense love for everything, enthusiasm for everything, is something I got to pursue for the rest of my life. I have to live like this. And so that got me searching for whatever you want to call it. But it made me go to Portugal. It made me hitchhike across America. I did a number of adventure travel in order to kind of find what I had felt that summer. I read a lot of books, tried a few things, different meditation. It just ultimately led me to Indian philosophy. And finally, when I kind of gave up at a certain point, a friend said to me, you look really sad. What's the matter? And I said, well, I've been searching for that feeling again, and I can't find it. I can't recreate it. At that point, something hit me. And I remembered a poster I had seen for a free meditation called Sahaja meditation, or Sahaja yoga. And then I went to that and I tried that, and then I felt an energy within me rise up on my 7th chakra. At the time, I didn't know exactly what it was, but I could distinctly feel it. Turns out it's an ancient energy within us called the Kundalini, and then it went up and I felt it. And so then I sort of began my search to go towards India, traveled to India, and the rest led me to the SAROD. And over the course of 10 years, I went to India many times and learned Indian music. So,
very cool.
Yeah. Tried to compress that story into a relatively short
minutes,
time. Yeah. But there were a lot of, things along the way that happened over the course of the time that led me from the point of starting to meditate to the point of going to India, and then actually, learning to play this instrument, and then living in India. That was a big change. To go there and travel is one thing, and I did many trips for even as long as a month or 6 weeks, but then this ended up being something that I spent 3 years learning and living with Indian families and studying with a very famous teacher and SAROD player named Ustad Amjad Ali Khan, and who's still very active in the world playing music with his 2 sons, Aman and Ayan Ali Khan. And so they're 7th generations of SAROD players. So just to meet the master was in itself, as they say in the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell style, it was, the call was introduced, and meeting the master is one of those early phases of a great long journey, epic journey. Yeah. So the SAROD, then Indian music, and then bringing it back over here, back home to America, settling down in Los Angeles, and then trying to find different ways to communicate the beauty of this music has been the journey that I've been on, both in film music and also these SAROD songs, performing traditional Indian ragas, doing a show called Awakenings where we have a dancer and we have various other musicians. And so all of these have been ways to, communicate those incredible feelings of freedom, moksha it's called, inner freedom, and joy and enthusiasm that I felt as a young man in Italy, and then as a person going through travels through India and things like that.
And so, yeah, great. Now I know you had said you wanted to talk about some like current world events and meditation, and and this lady here,
Sri Mataji, yes, she's the one who introduced me to Sahaja Yoga. In fact, she's the founder of Sahaja Yoga. She began her work in 1970. And I'd say that with the recent events in the world, of course, everybody is somewhat shaken and startled by not only, it just seems to be one thing after the other. I, for instance, we had to evacuate our home in Los Angeles with the fires, those fires up in the Getty, they're called the Getty fires. So that in itself, just waking up in the middle of the night with a phone call from Los Angeles saying there were wildfires approaching and you need to evacuate. So that's just a different kind of feeling.
Sure.
Of course, the fires in Australia have affected people. I have friends who had their houses burned down in the Malibu fires. Viruses, waters rising, various environmental things we hear about, extinction of animals, diseases that are uncontrollably spreading, viruses now in China. So, of course, these are things that I don't have an answer for, as many of us don't. We're just experiencing them sometimes firsthand, and I have a great empathy for people who have lost people in the process. But in the big picture, I wanted to talk about the song and the fact that that song is really about the man who has a son and then finally realizes after a whole lifetime that he's missed an opportunity. And it took a long time for him to realize that, but at least he did realize it in the end. And it's, if you take, that's a microcosm of something we may seem to be facing in a macro way. When we look at our lives and we think, I don't want to miss a moment. I have a child. I don't want to miss a moment with him or her. I have someone I love. How can I maximize what's really important in my life? When we ask those questions, then it begins a process of seeking, much like what happened when I was in my early 20s and 18. And, but what happens in crisis, we look deeper into ourselves. I think we all recognize that when something happens in our lives that's critical, it makes us wake up, makes us look at things differently, makes us change even though we never thought we would. But what seems to be happening on a macro level is that we're all facing this kind of urgent call as human beings to do something, to rise up, to become something different together as a human race. What do we do? I played in the summer in Hong Kong and there were protests in the street. So is it something that it's not the 60s, so is it something where we get signs and protest, or is it something where we go inside of ourselves and look for something deeper, a deeper connection within us? And if we do that together, then that becomes a collective, powerful thing. The power of collective prayer, or mantra, or thinking, or however you want to call it, collective meditation. So those are just some reflections I have on some of the things that are happening and how that connects to our inner being, and not only our individual beings, but also collectively as human beings.
Sorry, my legs are falling asleep a little bit.
I know, this is a tough one. I used to sit for 10 hours like this in India.
Oh, wow.
But I can't do that anymore. But I think I can last through this interview. So.
All right, well, you're doing
Feel
better
free to
than me.
shake your legs.
All right. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of people, because I know this is true for myself, are thinking like, yeah, we had some terrible fires all over the place in California last year. So that's a thing that is, is a commonality between here and what's going on in Australia. But I mean, there's other things that, like potential pandemic that's going on. They've locked down an entire city in China. And I think a lot of people, I know I am, are caught thinking like, well, God, what if that happened here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a worldwide, like, yes, it's happening there, but it's a thing that's stressing out the whole world.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, the world's become smaller and smaller due to technology, and it's harder and harder to ignore things that are happening in another part of the world because they could be happening here. And we had, an attack that happened in 9/11. We've been talking a lot about that.
Sure.
That changed a lot. I was in New York at the time. And just the world seems to be facing a time of critical reckoning or something, without trying to put a label on it. But interesting that I've done some reading. People have done some reading, and you look at different cultures and different traditions over thousands of years. There are poets in Sanskrit who wrote Sanskrit poems 2,000 years ago, who talked about a time when the earth and the people would rise up and find the power within themselves, a power within them that they didn't know about, but that did exist within them. And once they found it, they were able to face a time of troubles, which has been described by a lot of people. And this state, or this meditative state, is common amongst a lot of artists. They're able to express that. There was an amazing documentary with Neil Young talking about the state that one gets into through creativity and through art, and that takes you beyond what you think you could do. Your fingers play faster. You do things that are miraculous.
Sure.
So those are things that are activated by an ancient power within, which I was fortunate enough to come to be aware of. And that's one of the things I'd love to share with everybody as well, a meditation that I tried when I was 21 and that I've been practicing ever since, that activates these kind of internal, powerful, spiritual, or whatever you want to call them, energetic chakras. They open, and here's the chart behind us. This has the 7 chakras lined up in the center channel. There are 3 channels, right, left, and center. The center path is evolution, and there's a little curled up energy on the bottom, which is the one that we were talking about earlier, that actually I read a poem by Hopi Indian that also talked about this as well, is where there will be an energy hidden within human beings that they'll look for throughout the ages, but they won't find until a time of great impact, great calamity, great stress in some ways. So that is the Kundalini. In the triangle at the bottom, there's a Kundalini energy that's coiled up. And what happens with pure desire in the heart is that energy responds and then comes up through the 7th chakra and opens up the 7th energy center called the Sahasrara chakra, which brings integration, and that's through meditation and thoughtless awareness, not through focusing on anything, and not by saying a mantra, or not by any particular course. There's no money involved in Sahaja Yoga. It's a sweet, pure, and clear gift of nature, Mother Nature, and it's available to all, and it's available right now. So shall we try it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it. So you take your right hand and put it on your heart, and here you can close your eyes. You say this to yourself, Mother, meaning the Kundalini, because the Mother is the feminine energy of the divine. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So, Mother, please, who am I? Ask the question. Mother, who am I? This is the question that resounds in us when we have to go within ourselves. Who am I? And then we take the right hand just below the rib cage. This clears our center of mastery, and Mother, please make me my own master, because we do need to become our own masters, our own gurus. And then a little lower down, just above the hip bone, Mother, please give me pure knowledge. Knowledge that is pure is everywhere. It's universal. So we pray for that, we ask for that, we call for that. And then back up under the rib cage. Again, you move your right hand just below there. We're just going through this, and then we'll go back again deeper, and we go in our hearts. Here, now we develop a new confidence, and this is, Mother, I am the Spirit. I am the Spirit. Mother, I am the Spirit. because after all, we are not the body, we're not the mind. We are who we are in essence, is the spirit. Over here, this chakra blocks up a little bit when we have misidentifications with guilt and just misidentifications with things. So it's a good way to turn your head to the right and then just say, Mother, I'm not guilty. And say that a few times to yourself. Mother, I'm not guilty, as you press down where the shoulder meets the neck. And then up here on your Agnya chakra, which is the third eye, you put your palm of your hand here and just push it down and say, Mother, I forgive. I forgive. And then we're going to take the palm of our hands and put it on top of our heads, and then go ahead and just say, Mother, please give me my self-realization. As you do that, just move the palm of your hand around clockwise. Mother, please give me my self-realization. And then put the palm of your hand just above your head. Move it around a little bit, about an inch above your head. See if you feel any cool sensations. And then try that with your left hand, just above your head. And see if you can feel. There's different feelings on your fingertips or on the palm of your hand. You feel a cool sensation. Sometimes it's clearing and you might feel some heat. There may be some tingling. Try it again with your right hand. And then put both hands like this. I'm going to play a little bit of an ancient raga called Bhavani Dayani, which is based on Rag Bhairavi. And you can meditate to it by just closing your eyes or keeping both palms up. I'll play a short version of it and just enjoy. If you find yourself thinking, just say, I forgive. And if you find any kind of tension, just let it go. You tune the little strings to the piece to create the mood. And this piece is dedicated to the feminine aspect. We talked about the father principle, but the feminine aspect of the divine hasn't been explored as much in the West, although it has in the East. The idea of a mother, Mother Earth, that brings joy and all those beautiful things that rebirth that a mother brings. So a spiritual mother would bring salvation, rebirth, and all these great qualities of joy to human beings. And that's what this piece is dedicated to. It's ancient. Bhavani Dayani speaks to the goddess in all of her many wonderful qualities. So I dedicate this piece to all the things that I learned along the way in the beautiful path of divine blessings through meditation, through pursuing peace. And I pray that the whole world experiences this.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. Really appreciate it, and look forward to having you on again sometime if you're down to talk a little bit more about some of your world travels and world events that you've seen. But to everyone out there watching, hope this was helpful and relaxing, and we're going to get to some more weird stuff next time. But yeah, so yeah, look into meditation and do it every once in a while. The world needs it. Until then, wherever you're going, get there safe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.